DC Comics Flashpoint crossover, written by Geoff Johns with art from Andy Kubert, is really puzzling to me because people seem to have such a strong connection to the crossover event when I found the central idea behind the premise never really went far enough in the execution. DC Comics mainstay Barry Allen went back in time to resurrect his mother, and this one kind of change in continuity ended up building a different sort of gritty DC universe. There was one series that did manage to catch my attention during Flashpoint, and that was none other than Flashpoint Batman Night of Vengeance from Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Riso. This series had a different spin on Batman that I definitely don't want to give away, but DC Comics has continued to follow up on this miniseries with so many new titles and comics. DC is even doing an almost pseudo sequel to Flashpoint with Flashpoint Beyond, a miniseries where we've seen Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas, try to escape a universe that he's been trapped inside of for the past 6 issues. My name is Arico Braddock, and today let's go ahead and cover Flashpoint Beyond number 6. If you guys are new to the channel, I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe. Also, please feel free to hit that like button. Nobody's stopping you there. So I want to go ahead and introduce this wonderful creative team for Flashpoint Beyond number 6. A really important issue from DC Comics that we're covering today, and as such we have a really large group of creators that I want to introduce. So this series is written by Flashpoint writer Geoff Johns, Tim Sheridan, and Jeremy Adams. The art features incredible industry veterans like Xermanico, Mikel Janin, and Gary Frank. The colors are from Romulo Fajardo Jr., Jordie Bellaire, and Brad Anderson. The letters are from Rob Leigh, and we've got a cover from Mitch Gerads that I'm going to show you guys in just a few moments here. First off, want to read the 2-sentence solicitation text for Flashpoint Beyond number 6 from DC Comics. The fate of the Flashpoint Earth hangs in the balance as Thomas must make the ultimate choice. What will happen to this fractured reality, and what does it mean for the DC universe at large? And without further ado, here's a look at Flashpoint Beyond number 6. I got this preview of the issue from Adventures in Poor Taste. Go ahead and start with Flashpoint Beyond by just exploring some of the beautiful artwork throughout the issue. This has a total of 3 artists drawing it, but I think DC does a wonderful job from, an editorial standpoint and from kind of like a scripting standpoint to ensure that even though this is a comic book with 3 different artists, that they don't seem, overutilized or the issue is coherent really from back to front, no matter what part of the comic book you're taking a look at. Now, I think the way that DC manages to make this look so coherent between 3 different artists is the way that they pick, which artist is drawing which page, essentially. On these first couple pages, set in the modern DC universe, we have Mikel Janin drawing Batman, who's, drawing like the main Batman title over with Tom King. So I already associate that character with that title. I love Mikel Janin's really big and bombastic page layouts. Love his kind of like bold look at Batman. Sometimes Mikel's art can be a little bit too stiff for me, but I feel like there's something about this series, maybe it's the way that the issue is colored, where it's a little bit more visceral. It feels like these characters are actually moving between panels. This is some of the best artwork I think I've seen from Mikel, and really has a lot of good effects and things to really kind of break up the fact that, he seems to model these pages so, vividly. Now we're looking at some pages from Xermanico. Xermanico I was recently introduced to from the incredible Wonder Woman run. I really have had my eye on this artist. The way that Xermanico draws the kind of face on Martha in this like last panel on the page is just absolutely horrifying, but as you can tell, there's a sort of streamlined sense that Xermanico brings to the page, which is, evident all throughout the issue. It seems like Xermanico is drawing a really large portion of this comic. He's got a ton of really beautiful spreads. He's got some of the most violent material in the issue to work with. And really wonderful to see how Xermanico's art can function in a setting that's so dark and so hyper violent and still manage to come out looking beautiful and pristine in the level of violence that's coming across on the page there. Now, we do get Gary Frank art, and it is something to behold in the back of this issue, but there is a really special context behind Frank's art, and I do not want to spoil a second of what Gary Frank draws in this issue, because it needs to be seen to be sort of experienced. But it is something really interesting that appears to set up a future DC story while referencing a past DC story that I don't want to give away here for a second. There's some really gorgeous artwork in the very back of this issue, though. Love the way that Gary Frank, draws expressions on characters. Love the page layouts that Gary Frank takes when he kind of draws the page, and really excited for you guys to kind of check out the back of this issue. Otherwise here, in terms of the story, I really found this issue to, have so many of those plot elements and come to some really nice conclusions as well. I think this creative team is also a big fan of the Flashpoint Batman Night of Vengeance story, because the ending is almost referenced in this series. Despite the fact that these are characters from the original series, some of the setting and tone is referenced as well, really. And the way that the book kind of like shifts the perspective and shifts some of the goals of Thomas is really striking narratively. I noticed that on this particular issue, a lot of people are really focused on talking about the continuity elements of Flashpoint Beyond. Flashpoint Beyond number 5 had so many important revelations, but at the core of this series, there's something interesting between kind of the push and pull between Thomas and Martha in this title. And I wanted to make sure that I went ahead and highlighted it, because it seems like some people are getting this element of the series lost in the shuffle. The moments with the Time Masters and, some of the other DC Comics characters that are teased in this page from Mikel Janin are also written really, really well in the story. Also, the kind of finale of the book is surprisingly heartwarming, considering the really dark and violent subtext throughout the past couple months in Flashpoint Beyond. But it's good to see a sort of like proto-happy ending and people coming to conclusions that they probably should have came to 4 or 5 issues ago. But still, really like how, Johns has naturally let the characters come to their own conclusions while setting up some of these plot threads. And really, I think this script, not only from Johns, but from Tim Sheridan and Jeremy Adams, is just fantastic from back to front. There's so many plot elements in this comic book that are executed very well at an incredibly high level. So overall, those are my thoughts on Flashpoint Beyond number 6. I think a lot of people are definitely getting way too caught up in the continuity elements, and they're not just enjoying the fact that DC Comics is really on a tear right now with Thomas Wayne as Batman. DC in the past couple of years has put this character in so many different contexts, and the fact that it's just kind of a more unique version of Batman is really catching the attention, of their audience. I love that this series has an ending that's, not super gritty and dark, but it's a little bit happier. It's a little bit, sad, but also calls upon some really fascinating and introspective character beats. So you can come to Flashpoint Beyond for comic book continuity and a sequel to a really kind of like fascinating DC Comics crossover. but you should stay for the really fantastic characterization of Thomas Wayne that we've seen all throughout this series. So I want to know, do you agree with me? Do you like Flashpoint Beyond? And are you able to separate some of those continuity elements and say, hey, this is a good story? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for coming to check out the video. I'll be back very soon this week with some really good Marvel comics. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks so much, and I'll see you very soon.